Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 231, and today we're doing battle with Red Gwen. And so, Red Gwen, I mean, this has been around since Gwen was released. This was quickly just the most powerful form of the Gwen deck that was to come about. We've seen some variation since with Vayne. We've had some usage of the Opulent Foyer, but at its core, this deck has been around since Gwen's release. But the thing that got me really thinking about this is kind of threefold, if you will. The first and big kind of concept was this was extremely popular at Worlds. I don't want to call this an aggro deck. This is more in the mid-rangey end of the spectrum, but the aggro lineups, the more aggressively tuned lineups of the format, we're leaning heavily on this deck, and I don't feel like it's one that we've really given enough of the light of the day. Like, I typically play a lot of decks like Scouts, a lot of decks like Pirates, a lot of decks like Big Overwhelms, whether or not that's with Sejuani or Darius Nar kind of thing. Like, that's the end of the spectrum we typically play. If it's got a Legion Rearguard on it, I'm probably on board. And so I think with the kind of recent changes in the game, with the updates to the rallies, this is something that we're going to need to kind of get in our wheelhouse. And so kind of point number one, is this, the best aggro sort of slated deck in the format? And should we be giving it more credence, if you will? Thing number two, as we are coming out of the Foundation's Timewinder Gauntlets, I was pretty well convinced that Katarina is just the best champion in the game. Now, that might not be true in the full sense of all of the cards all at once, but in that Timewinder setting, the Foundations only, I feel like Katarina was arguably just the best champion in the game. And like I felt like I was making a lot of decks that were like, this deck isn't that great, but Katarina is in it, and she's really just out here hard carrying, and you should be bringing her in every single lineup. And so I do think I need to give her a little bit more of the spotlight in the current meta. And then the last thing that we also kind of pulled out of Foundations is the idea of how you're going to best beat the opposing control decks. And for the most part, in the current state of things, we're not seeing a ton of things like the Ruination, like we saw in the previous one. And so if you're not seeing that really width-based removal, that gives you these great spaces to come out and take advantage of cards like the Harrowing, right? So if your opponent is just sitting around trying to trade 1-for-1, they're playing their Seraphines, they have 9 cards in their hand on turn 8 of the game, are you still able to punch through that massive mountain of card advantage? You typically can't do that if you're just playing, bigger and bigger units, but if you come at them with things like the Harrowing, if you get the recursive Eternal Dancers, you get these multiple rallies out of Katarina, it gives you a way to kind of fight through that mountain of card advantage if your opponent is basically playing a bunch of card draw and not trying to get their card advantage out of, say, like a 4-for-1 from the Ruination. And so I think this is, pretty well positioned given the removal in the current meta to really come in and punch through and be quite strong. And so, I was wanting to give it a little bit of a light of the day. There's nothing new or spectacular with this list. I just ripped this one from Ultraman on runeterra.ar, and we're going to be jumping into battle and seeing how it goes. And so, let's jump on in. I checked the deck. The pay-to-win price has been paid. We're all good, well, and set in that sense. Let's head on into battle. So good stuff. That was a good set of games with the Timewinder Gauntlets. I'm pretty excited for the upcoming Rising Tide ones, the release of the Scouts, if you will. So we get a little bit more of a commonality in what we're used to doing. But man, we're gonna have to jump in there. We're gonna have to play a bunch of Katarinas and stuff. It's gonna be it's gonna be pretty sweet. But all right, as far as these go, I do want to come out and try and find some of our hallowed units. I'm fine to start off with a House Spider just to make sure we have something, right? As we play a lot of Noxon-style aggro decks, we will just hard mulligan for that early play. This isn't quite the space. This isn't that kind of deck to where we have to hard mulligan and find a Burgeoning Sentinel or a Boisterous Host or the 2-mana, the Phantom Butler. We have a little bit more play and what we're able to do. We can build up to a lot more late game. And so I didn't just hard mulligan for the 1-drops here. We're not playing any Legion Rearguards today, and so you don't have to try and do that kind of thing. But reasonable build up for this upcoming turn. Opponent, they of course get some advantage out of having the Faces of the Old Ones on the board, but they're not going to be in a space to where they get to come in and just like overwhelm us super fast. There's not going to be a Targon's Peak coming down in the immediate turns here, and so we have a bit of time to try and get these things off the board. So we've got the Quietus for one. That's pretty sweet. We're going to have the House Spider to get a big open attack in the next turn. Jeez, dude. Dude's got all the faces today. Hopefully we'll get some blocks here out of these. I would like to get them off the board. But definitely want to be opening. I don't want to be fighting down a Trundle or something coming out of this combat. Okay, now I get the opportunity to get both off the board. Sounds good to me. He's got all the ramps. Alright, slow it down, my dude. Slow it down just a little bit. Alright, Katarina ready to party. I think we're good to just start kind of overriding stuff. I worry a touch with Katarina in that if we want to like play her this turn and then attacks next turn and the opponent has a Three Sisters to take her down or something, I'm not really amped about that kind of thing, but I think we can be good here otherwise. Now we might get him with a bit of surprise after this. See, here's the flash freeze that would have killed her. This wouldn't have been ideal. Opponent's about to get the opportunity to start popping off, though. The 8 mana turn's the big one for them, where they can start playing Ithit Stairs and get the big AoE on the board. This is a tough one. He's up to some kind of shenanigan, right? I think we can add 1 Katarina since we have 2. But I'm going to say, let's see if this is going to be coming at us with a Buried in the Ice or something. Buried in the Ice it is. Alright, so we can still go for the Katarina. Again, if he has like a flash freeze or something to counterspell the strike, it's going to be pretty tough to recover, but I think we have to try and get something in for this upcoming turn. And this does at least give them a bit of pause, right? If they're going to try and do the blow up your landmarks kind of thing, then we should still at least have Katarina on the board. He needs to have another flash freeze and the giant unit if he wants to try and get the full takedown here. Excellent, we got the flip. We can get some rallies now. It's not very safe to just be dropping giant dudes at this point. So, I mean, I feel like we can just play another Katarina, right? If he didn't have an answer the first time, what's he going to have the second time?
You're already dead, Tryndamere.
You're already dead, Tryndamere.
Not my reputation.
Wish I knew what was in these. I have Entombed Spiderling. There we go. It's a bit unfortunate here we couldn't get the Fallen Reckoner down to make the Tryndamere camp lock, but hopefully it's okay otherwise. I think we still have to attack and let him get the flip. I want to come in next turn and then try to get a Fallen Reckoner and a rally. I mean, as it stands, just the rally might be good enough. I guess he could play something like a She Who Wanders, now that he's going to be up to 10 mana, but okay, give it a shot. None of our frozen tombed friends are going to be surviving the likes of Ithit Stairs. Or She Who Wanders, yeah. It's kind of brutal. We do get to keep the Katarina because we've got one in hand, but losing all of our dudes otherwise sucks quite a bit. But I think the big thing here, we're going to get to come in and start hitting with the blade's edges. We should have 3 for this turn, and then opponent can't currently lethal us, and so we'll get a rally on Katarina again. We'll have some potential to kill next turn with just the big blade's edge combats. Make them have the atrocity, they say.
Let the bloodshed begin. Blood for Noxus.
It's too bad Tryndamere has tough. I'd feel so much better about this game if we could just throw the blade's edges at Tryndamere and take that atrocity angle away from the opponent. But pew pew, motherfucker. Just send him on in.
No going back.
Uh-oh. He's thinking on this one hard. Yeah, I was a little worried about that. Too bad. We were just like 1 unit off. I'm curious if we missed on just a little bit in terms of the... we had a turn where we overwrote a Spiderling with the Boisterous Host. That was the one that I was kind of interested in if we did it a little bit odd or a little bit awkwardly. Or we did have the opportunity to put a can't block onto the Tryndamere, but then that put us in a spot to where we weren't quite getting the Katarinas going, and so maybe something in there. But you can see that absolute power that comes out of Katarina, right? He was just doing bonkers things there right at the end of the game. It was quite powerful. But I'm willing to get rid of her here against Jinx Echo. She's a little bit too slow to be having in the opener. What up, Acorn? We got to come out against this as fast as we can. Just Jinx is too much of a problem. We could look to, I know, like Vile Feast, Ravenous Flock, Jinx. I mean, maybe we have to save this combo for a champion, whether or not that's Echo or Jinx. But it's tough.
In this timeline, we're sure to save Ekathia.
Hush now.
We'll see what turns up, though. All right, we lost a spider. Sad day for you. Still get some reasonable stuff on board, though. I don't think we need to Vile Feast Acorn. Well, I guess we're definitely not Vile Feasting Acorn now, but we had a bit of opportunity there to like. Right, I don't think this is a big deal. We can just try and save this stuff for the champions. This is the big turn for him, right? If he wants to add one to the board, we have to decide if we want to use the Feast and Flock now or just kind of give up on it. I mean, I think I'm okay to just add in the House Spider. Still gives us a chance to see what's going to happen, right? If he's going to add in a Jinx or whoever. He's going to do all the predicting, that's for sure. But like this Acorn isn't going to lethal us anytime soon, right? He's going to be killing us with echoes and the like. Okay.
Got a good feeling about tomorrow. Never had luck, never needed it.
Easy to say with that Z drive of yours.
Now the kind of question, I mean, I think we can attack. We can give him a free time trick and get to save some of our hand. I think this is good. We aren't hallowed yet, so it's not like we're going to lose out on any attack power. And then we can keep the Elise back. She's going to be flipping. Like, her attack here is not very strong. But
Don't touch it. Well, you had
she will be strong after this turn.
I'll learn soon.
All right, so we'll see where this gets us. He got the time trick out of Echo, but I think we're still ahead. Probably not, but I think we are. That's all that matters, right? As long as you think you're ahead.
If it ain't my favorite time travel, genius punk buddy.
Well, I'd be weirded out if I wasn't.
Don't have any ways to get out of the Echo. I was hoping we could block with something and then Vile Feast out of it, but it's not going to be the case here.
What a strange, wonderful world.
Probably just stuck blocking him now. Like, I don't want to... I'm not worried about taking, like, half of this. It just is if he's able to start hitting us with Jinx's Death Rockets, that's where we're going to start to struggle. But we got some high-powered attacks coming next turn. We got the Ruined Reckoner to help boost up the Gwen. So we're not out of it yet. Katarina here. She's always here to be a good part of the party. Do we need to get an attack in with her now so that we can start recalling next turn? I don't think so.
We could use a bite.
See if we can't get a bit of extra surprise damage out of these blades' edges. All right, so he's just completely given up on board. Does it mean he just has a? Oh, he's gonna have the. He's already picked up the thing that resurrects your whole team, the Chrono Break. Has to be a Chrono Break. Yeah. It's not completely terrible though. We can block the Echo and then Vile Feast our Spiderling. It takes us a long way in terms of getting out of some of this struggle. Yep. All right. Well, feels like we've got him reasonably well worn down. We would have been in a much better space if the Gwen hadn't killed our unit, but I feel decent at least having Katarina in the back line here. He just spent, oh boy, a second Chrono Break. Okay. Good job, I guess. Alrighty, on to the next one. That's tough though. I don't think you can ever like get out of that turn without killing off the Echo. Like, you have like so many angles that you have to take there. You're really going to say like, do you really have 2 Chrono Breaks in hand? Or like the more common thing, the more common flip side I think you'll see there is when your opponent just goes, LOL, here's Jinx, right? And so if you aren't getting into those oh shit, I missed the Eternal Dancers as well. That was not the proper mulligan. We wanted to keep our cheap play and get rid of the Eternal Dancers, but let's see if we can't recover a little bit. Pick things up after a little bit of a whoopsies. All right, Bird, get out of here. I'm ready for combat, Tom. Well, he's going to have one big unit coming up, but his board's empty. Gwen's ready to party. Okay.
If only she could see me. I will play my part.
It's like I'm curious if we should even like be spending the Fallen Reckoner here. It's not a particularly strong target, and we do have Quietus in hand. But I mean, I think we just have to be continuing on with our aggression. Our board's getting so good. What's he gonna do? Like play Shen? Like that doesn't seem super appealing. He doesn't kill Gwen or our good units. It does. I guess he does have some potential to take down Gwen, but
What a joy!
it's not a super strong hit.
I shall need my tools.
There is no dispute.
Okay, this goes for the damage prevent. Sounds good. We'll be able to replay the Risen Reckoner a couple turns from now. Take away some more of his blocking abilities. So as it stands, with the Risen Reckoner dead, the Eternal Dancers should be bringing back the front side of this. And so if he doesn't add another unit to the board, just the open attack with the Eternal Dancers will make it so one of his units can't block. That may be enough to carry out the game, but we'll see. Like just playing Ionia Bard, he shouldn't have a ton of ways to really interact with what we're doing. Okay.
Oh, is everyone partnering up?
I find them unworthy.
I mean, we can actually. I think we want to give up the Spiderling either way, but we can just block Shen. He's not going to be killing off our Eternal Dancers, and now we can look to Ravenous Flock him down next turn. I think that's good. This hits the weakest, right? That's currently Shen. We'll have to come back to him.
Demacia sends its regards.
And then at the end of the day, it may fail, right? He can have a barrier or something, a homecoming, whatever, to protect his Shen. That's all completely fine. Like, as long as he's spending mana to not add to the board, we're going to be getting in a bit of a better space. What would be unfortunate would be kind of like the preemptive homecoming, the preemptive removal spell on the Eternal Dancers, but that's pretty tough to do. All right, let's go ahead and drop it in. Again, if he has a homecoming, a deny, a whatever to stop this, it's not the end of the world, but this gets us at least in the space to where he shouldn't be getting too much more happening on this board.
They are under
Shen flip, okay. Then I guess there is the question as well. Do we ever want to just overwrite the foyer to try and get a kill this turn? Definite possibility there. Right, we're probably not. We could still win the game after this turn, but it's going to be much more challenging to do. Oh shit, we're going to completely fill out our board though, aren't we? Maybe that wasn't as necessary as I had envisioned. Why is this pulling back a bad unit? Oh, we needed to do this. Okay, there we go.
What a magical place.
Now we should be bringing back the can't block guy. Okay. So yeah, they didn't need to add the boisterous host, but otherwise the game plan there was all well and good. All right, GG, friend.
The great gift I've been given.
Get them flips in there while we're at it. Feels good.
Did you see that? I did that. Me.
Stuff like I just see that and it's like, okay, I've got this overwhelm unit. I need to be putting the bonus attack on the overwhelm. It competes with the other play to where we're gonna resummon with that big unit that we need. But we figured out the problem. We fixed it. We fixed it in the end. That was even with that bad mulligan, and so that was nice to be able to take that game down. All right, I'd like to have a little bit of interactivity against Talia Ziggs. Having Vile Feasts would be extremely nice here. To kill their inventive chemists, their rock hoppers, and the like. But we do have Katarina to come in and do some of that fighting if we need. It's not a deck that's particularly good at dealing with her. This is the one where I always say they just don't play Quicksand, right? Because they shouldn't be. The amount of cards that they're trying to play with the bouncing bombs and all of that stuff, it doesn't exactly fit in with Quicksand. But then every time I say it, they always have it. So kind of is what it is, I guess.
Now where did I leave that beaker? Wanna see what it does?
Sounds good. There's times you won't want to make these trades, right? This is a deck that can pretty easily just fill out their board, but I think it's fine here. He seems like kind of far away. He's going to be dropping like at most 2 cards on the board this turn, so I think getting rid of the Chemist for the 1-drop is a good deal. This is the one where we have to decide, right? We do have the Katarinas in hand to try and Blade's Edge it away, but we start to risk our Katarinas to bouncing bombs then. I think it's okay. Like, if we Katarina, he hits her with a bouncing bomb, we get to Blade's Edge, the Inventive Chemist. He probably shouldn't be adding anything else to the board this turn, right? That's kind of tough to do with only 2 mana. And then next turn, we still have access to Gwen. Yeah, Rite of the Arcane, even better. A little bit more expensive. Interesting, he's blowing up his 2 countdown one, so he's not going to have any landmarks on the board after this turn. So you shouldn't. I don't think we should be worrying about things like enhanced lightning, whatever the sacrifice thing is called, or worrying about the likes of another Rite of the Arcane. All right, we'll still bring him in. He's got a fairly safe block onto the Gwen, but we can take down afterwards with the Ravenous Flock here. This is just mainly about not dying. And so if we get the Gwen hit in, if he has to play a combat trick or something here, it makes me feel pretty decent. I don't think this deck typically plays a bunch of Shaped Stones now. Oh, shit. Yeah, he's playing Talia Ziggs, but like, if we lose our Gwen here, it's not the end of the world. He's getting real hard on it. I mean, it's not like we have any mana, so I mean, if you've got the Shaped Stone and want to keep your Ziggs, then you know it's gonna work. The Absolver. Okay, glad to see that go. All right. Let's see if we can't get the big shutdowns here. It's a little scary to let him pick up the equipment, or the landmark off of the Endless Devout, but I think this is okay. Like, if he's coming down with Talia next turn, he still feels like he's going to be fairly far behind. And we just get such big board presence now. Could have looked to have played Katarina there, but I think we're going to get her in this turn. Drop the second Foyer. Drop Katarina. come into battle and then get all these double summons in the upcoming turns.
Never play fair.
Dang.
Onward, everybody! The horizon calls!
So much for those double summons in the upcoming turns. Maybe we need to keep the house spider back. as it stands, I don't want to just be taking an open hit from Talia next turn.
Excuse me?
Sure. But at this point, we should be reasonably safe. We don't have to worry about these sarcophagus popping off on this turn. He's already spent one Absolver. He spent a half hour thinking on it. If he had two Absolvers in his hand, he probably would have just spewed it off. I don't think we're in a space to where we have to worry about getting OTK'd here. The block with the House Spider should make it so we only take 4 damage.
Mind your step!
Doing a little digging.
Throw another rock.
Alright, so let's see how this sequences out. Oh, shit. I thought we were going to be able to Ravenous Flock the Talia. It's not the way that's going to go. So I was going to say, let's play the Ravenous Flock first, see if we can't kill her, and then play the Fallen Reckoner next to just take down whatever the remaining blocker is. But a little bit off. Not a bad board, though. We'll see if we get that quicksand or not. Right? If he has a quicksand, we're going to be hurting. But if he doesn't have it, we should be in pretty good shape here in terms of just getting multiple Katarina attacks this turn.
If only you were made of rock.
And we're good for at least one rally, right? It looks like he's not going to be throwing anything in front of Katarina. Ideally, she won't be getting stunned here, and so we should get to play at least one. We'll get 2 more units out of the Opulent Foyers. Hopefully it leaves us in a game-ending position. We'll also be getting this Risen Reckoner back as well, so we can potentially say, hey, your unit can't block. Uh-oh. That was a little worrisome. Like, I imagine that if he had a way, if he had a quicksand, he would have just snapped a unit in front of Katarina. Without having it, I think that she's probably safe to get us that rally.
You're ruining everything!
Ruining everything, bro. Alright, we got strike. Excellent.
Violence solves everything.
So, do we want to go with this one? We'll have to see how much mana he spends here. The question would be, do we want to go with this one to where we play Katarina twice? Or do we want to play Katarina once with these other units? I feel like as soon as we play her, she's probably just going to get stunned. But let's start with this and see how it goes. Right, we get the 2 units here. We can then Blade's Edge the Restored Devout. Now, if he wants to like blow up a landmark somehow to now stun Katarina, we get to follow up with these other units.
Your feet on the ground.
Yep, there's the stun. That's okay.
It's just a minute.
See if he's got any additional units, right? We have the can't block to throw onto Talia. But we have to win this turn, right? If we're not winning this turn, this game's done. Uh-oh, here comes the thunder. So that'll bring a stun onto the Risen Reckoner. We have like 6 Hallowed, so our little guys here should still be enough to take this down. 10 coming into 9. GG. All right, that was close. Oof. So if you all had a delightful holiday season, you survived the Thanksgivings, the Black Fridays, the Cyber Mondays, I did just manage to watch one of the classic holiday films in Jingle All the Way. And as we're coming out of the time of the Black Friday and the Cyber Monday, it was mind-blowing to me. If you're not familiar with Jingle All the Way, interesting hand against Annie Jen. Like, you have to just be digging for your early stuff here. The one I'm curious on is like the Katarina and the Foyer. The Foyer is probably just too slow, but I want to hang on to Katarina since she can block and be a removal. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, shitty dad, doesn't pay attention to his kids. He's supposed to get the Turbo Man action figure, the Turbo Man toy. He does not do it because he's too busy working. And so on Christmas Eve, he's busy traveling all about the town trying to find the Turbo Man. And so it just seems so absurd to me as we come through the likes of Black Friday and Cyber Monday and doing all of the digital shopping, the shoppings in the lands of the internet, and just being like, holy fuck, I'm not driving anywhere. I'm not driving all around town to find any of this stuff. I'm just gonna go to Amazon. And then it's like, even if you do have to go somewhere, you just have the opportunities now to just see if stuff's in stock online. It's like I'm never never just physically going to a store to hope and dream that you have something online. I'm just gonna go to HomeDepot.com. We're gonna see if it's on the list of things that appear, and if it doesn't appear at that store, then it's gonna show up at one of the different ones. I'll go to that one. Haven't done that for like 2 days now. So it's wild the way that the times change in such short order. I think that came out in like 1992. It's the early to mid 90s when that came out. So it's like 20 years ago. You were going to the local shopping center and fighting through the masses to where now that thing just doesn't even exist. It's pretty wild. All right, how are we going to handle this? A slightly awkward hand in terms of we don't have very much mana. If we want to play the Foyer, we're not going to have any blockers next turn. And all I'm really worried about at this point is making sure that we have ways to prevent damage. As this game drags on, when we're sitting here with both the Foyer and Katarina in hand, if we're just given just enough time to kind of wear him down, we're going to take this game over. And so I think the Katarina is the least safe option, and then I definitely want to have the Sentry for next turn. But then on this turn, if we want to drop the Foyer, we're not going to have blockers for next turn. And so I think this is probably the safest way to be going about it. Now, kind of a similar vein, I don't want to be in a spot to where we get our entire board shut down because our opponent had a stun unit. So I think this will leave us in a good space. Let's see, I want the Katarina to strike. See if we can't get the old takedown here. Could have looked to save the Blade's Edge because of Noxus Blast, but I think this is still fine. Can't get around a Noxus Blast if he wants to play it on the Demolitionist. He knows he had the 1 damage card in hand. But Gwen was a fantastic addition. Just gets that little bit of drain. It should be enough to carry us through the rest of this game.
What a strange, wonderful world.
Might want to thread the needle. That was actually an interesting pickup. But got him in the end. GG. Jingle all the way to you, bro. Hope you find your Turbo Man. I thought that one held up reasonably well. You never know with these movies when they're just gonna go straight out there and just say a bunch of obnoxious racist stuff. And I don't know. Like I don't feel like Schwarzenegger ever really went that path. I feel like he had such a. It seemed like he's a man of the people, if you will, as to where. I feel like if you tried to put that stuff into a Schwarzenegger movie, it would tell you to fuck off. It's, let's see. On to battle. The old Aurelian Soul, the old Dragon Dream Team. All right, so who do we want to lead with here? Probably the Phantom Butler. Good chance, like they have some small units here, right? If you're going to play like the 1/3 that puts a dragon in your hand, then we're going to get the damage in. And then I think if we're just getting trades here, this feels like a win for us as well. So the House Spiders just run into too many spots to where they don't do anything here. Keep wanting to call the Schwarzenegger toys the Ultraman. I don't think Ultraman qualified for Worlds this year, but he always has a really good run at the seasonals and everything. I believe he plays out of Europe and not out of Brazil.
There's nothing to fear.
That's when you know you're running into the good ones. If you have to, if you have to double check and see if they're from Brazil or not. That's how you can tell if they have the ultimate collection of skills. If they're worthy of the if they're worthy of the highest honors. Okay, this is fine. I wasn't like really sure on this if we wanted to try and save the Ravenous Flock so that we could take down a future Shyvana, but this unit here should be enough. We could maybe need to wait a turn. No, he would just heal back to full. We wouldn't be able to Ravenous Flock it next turn. Okay, so like if he's going to have a Ranger's Resolve and our Flock gets counterspelled, we're going to be in a pretty painful spot. There's the Shyvana. Gonna look to just cancel her fury and her damages with the Glimpse Beyond. It's a little tough here. Like I don't have high expectations out of like the Eternal Dancers. I don't think we even really get a chance to play it. So just got to bring in open now. I think so. This is not feeling good. We just did quite a bit of risk. I don't want to spend all the mana on the Eternal Dancers and then the opponent just be like, LOL, it's a consolidated strike or concerted strike, and so just stay out of that just a little bit. I think this is okay. Now it puts us in a spot to where if he has the concerted strike, and he takes down the Gwen, we do have the infinite combo in hand for the moment, and so Good chance there. And oh boy, he's played 2 sharp sights. Did we just did we just chop the it's not enough. Man. He's got the 3rd sharp sight. Okay. Brutal. Our top deck was not good enough. Shyvana ignorable though. It's close. She's going to get the bonus stats on her attack, but we can present a lethal attack after this. Right, he comes in with the Shyvana. We're at Hallowed 4. F, are you kidding me? Guess sometimes you can just have it all. Right, this was going to be 1 short of lethal coming in with the Katarina, or coming in with the Gwen, but I mean we are pretty close here now. We're 1 short of lethal on this attack. We'll have to see. I doubt he's going to block here, but you know, if he wants to fall to 1, I understand. Trade out the Shyvana. Okay. I wish we had something to play before the Eternal Dancers so we didn't have to advertise it, but maybe. It should be tough for him to have a dragon that can take this down. Right? He can play like an Eclipse Dragon, which would take it down in combat, but he shouldn't have a way to kill it with a Concerted Strike. There we go. Now we just have the combo to come in. We attack with the Hallowed Dancers. We get back our friend. Then we get the attack card in hand. Attack card, Midnight Raid. There you have it. And so this cycle, if you're not familiar with it, he's going to lose the combat to the Eternal Dancers. He doesn't have anything in hand. Now we can Midnight Raid the Eternal Dancers. It's going to resummon the Ruined Reckoner, give us that big infinite combo. That's interesting. I think that's where this deck really came from. Was people picked up on that combo and thought it was kind of a meme, and then it turns out that once you add Katarina to this nonsense, it was actually pretty bonkers. But good stuff. GG. You managed to fight through the Have It All special. All right, the other flavor of Gwen, the Gwen vein. Sure. Let's see. Reasonable enough start. I think we want to hang on to the Ravenous Flock in this space. Just a little awkward with these Burgeoning Sentinels not doing enough in the early game. But I kind of think it's like, well, if we can use it to drop a point of damage onto a high-powered unit and then flock from there. Or you can just eat a Quietus. That's completely fine. It was nice to get to play a little bit of Braum in the Time Winder gauntlets and not have to worry about Quietus. It feels so bad to play your 4-mana champion and have him just get blown up for 1 mana. So I appreciate the I appreciate the changes there. At least not having the ability to play an expensive champion. My thing with the Quietus is, you know, my example has just been Sona. I don't know what champion it would be, but Sona kind of strikes me as one that would be a very expensive low attack unit, and then just have her come in and die to Quietus feels kind of bad. Interesting, no block with the band. I'm going to assume that was a mistake. A little bit of a whoopsies from Ziggle Fritz. Should be safe with Katarina now, right?
Never play fair.
No, there's no just like 2-mana ways to take her down. Then we have the Blade's Edge onto the Butler now. A block onto his Hallowed unit if we want. He's only at Hallowed 2. It's not a ton of damage, but probably got to watch ourselves. And if he has a Sharp Sight or something, that's fine.
It's just a nick.
Your Sharp Sights are fine, bro.
To the point.
All right. Works for me. I was worried about losing our Katarina, but she's safe. Everything's okay. Vile Fee is not that big of a deal.
They'll never know what killed us.
It's a pretty decent space to get a big bank, right? If we're going to come into next turn with both Katarina and double Ravenous Flock, being able to play Katarina, get the unit out of the foyer, get the mana, and then be able to drop the Blade's Edges onto an opposing big play. I think that's good. I think we're in a good spot here.
May I see your invite?
Let me see your invite, bruh.
Well, I did say I wanted to see the world.
Justice will be served.
I'll go ahead and let you know. Radiant Guardian would be a little bit annoying here. Just get that nonsense out of here. Oh, you're gonna have Quietus. Okay. I was like, oh no, is he gonna have a Cataclysm? And I don't want this Radiant attacking. This is gonna be our big opportunity to end the game here. He's got something not fun. I can already tell. It's already coming in. He's got a single combat or something in hand there. I guess single combat wouldn't be the end of the world if he puts the damage onto the Guardian, and then we get to do some Ravenous Flocking.
We shall sing dance and forget our woes.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take down the Boisterous Host. So he's going to come in and kill the Katarina, and then we'll get to make an open attack with that extra point of damage on the board. Says I'm losing my blocker. I don't like that. Brings in a Sharp Sight. Okay. Interesting.
Scoured from this land.
Interesting. Alright, so he gets to gain 1,000,000. Got it. How much have we got? Is that 1,000,000? We're a little bit short of 1,000,000 of our own. But still a reasonable spot going into next turn. The Ruined Reckoner to give the Ruined Reckoner to give the Fallen Reckoner the nice attack in. We've got his Lifesteal unit off of the board. I think we're okay, fam. I think we're okay. All right, your one card better be a good one, Gah. Better be a good one. It's not a good one enough. was this, like 9 overwhelm? That'll do it. GG. All right, get ourselves into that final battle. It still counts as the final battle, right? As you're playing up to your game 7 and the Gauntlet game 8 here. That reminds me, I'm kind of interested in the Gauntlet in terms of how the best of 3 will feel. Y'all, I guess, are gonna have to like saddle up for some 4-hour long videos. I'm not sure. It's kind of a tough space, I think, in that finding the right amount of time for it to take. I feel like if we're having like a buy-in, sit-down kind of tournament, that a 4-rounder kind of like the Gauntlet is right now feels too short. Like I feel like we usually cruise through those in about an hour, hour and a half, depending on if we lose any matches or not. And then there we go. It doesn't seem like the game broke, but with the current setup to where it was supposed to be best of 3 to 7 wins, right? If you have like a 66% win rate or something, and then still have to play like 10 matches, right? And say you get out of there in like 25 games. That's a pretty hefty tournament, and so I kind of like the idea of there being a the kind of like seasonals or the grassrootsy style 5 rounds of Swiss to a top cut to top 8 or something, where the kind of interesting way to go in terms of the bigger ones, but then these gauntlet style tournaments could be the smaller ones. But I think what I would ultimately really like to see, what would I think be the most appealing, at least to me, was the space to where Magic has those tournaments on Arena, as to where it's like a 2-day tournament, but you can buy into day 1 as many times as you want, and if you get up to 7 wins, that qualifies you for the second day, and then the second day you get prizes based on the number of you get prizes based on the number of wins that you got. And so it's like I don't think it's like single elimination. I think it might be double elimination. I don't quite remember, but if that's the kind of space that these events are going into, then I think that's kind of interesting, and would make more sense to have that 7-win best of 3 kind of format. But we'll see. I'm hyped. Whatever the big plan is, I'm on board for finding out and playing. But with this game, reasonable enough start. I do like starting with the Gwen. That gives us a nice way to recover just a bit of that health. This is a very all-in deck, and so if we can get a single drain off of Gwen, or if she gets to kill a unit and get a drain, just gives us a lot of opportunity to recover from a big early start. Doesn't seem like opponents had a particularly strong start at this point, though. This all looks good. He's losing dudes. That seems pretty painful. Can add in Gwen. We're going to be getting Katarina down next turn. I'm not entirely certain what the proper ordering of these is. It feels a lot better now that he's just dropping Jhin if we're going to Katarina. And so he can play a stun unit here, which will stun our Gwen. But, oh, without a stun, this is going to be painful. Got him. Easy stuff. And so, GG. Not a bad set of battles. We started off with a fairly weak 0-2, but then chained out 6 in a row after that for a nice 6-2 showing. And so, again, this deck has tons and tons of power. I don't know why we haven't been playing very much of this, but it's certainly a deck that is quite good and something that we need to kind of get into shape with, especially as in the kind of current times as to where Decimate has been nerfed, the rallies are getting nerfed out of Demacia. We need to kind of expand out on playing the Scouts and the Pirates style decks, and I think this is a good place for expansion. It's just got a lot of really high-powered stuff to it. It's got a lot of resilience. It has a lot of the things that I like in terms of the big tempo plays, and then still being able to say, oops, I win with cards like the Harrowing. And so I'm typically pretty happy with this. It's also got a bit of maneuverability, if you will. So if you want to take this into best of three, and you are not planning on, say, banning Seraphine, right? If you're looking to, say, play against Seraphine, then you can kind of stack in more Quietus. If Seraphine Ezreal, Seraphine Victor are going to be the big thing they're looking to go after, or if you're looking to ban that, I don't think you want to ban that if you're playing this, but if you're looking to, say, ban it and then set your sights more towards the aggro end of the spectrum, then you do have that space to where you can play more Vile Feasts. You can play the different removal spells to kind of pick and choose. And so there's a lot of interesting options that you get to kind of cycle around with this deck. And so, good stuff here. I will say that if the timing is right, I think as this video comes out on Tuesday, I'm going to record a blue Gwen. I want to play Gwen with Sejuani again and the Harrowings and see how that feels in this current format. I'm kind of interested in Freylord right now as the new cards come out. Freylord hasn't received the Darken equipment yet, and so I'm kind of curious what that is, the kind of boost that Freylord's going to get in the upcoming set. And then I think the spoiler season should be starting. The new set comes out the first week of December. That's about a week from today. And so the spoilers should be starting, and then the Rising Tides Timewinder Gauntlets should be turning up. And so I'm looking to play in those Rising Tide ones. It's unfortunate for the Targon season, given that it kind of coincides with the release of a new set, but I'll try to work in some Targon Timewinder as well, but I'd say we'll probably be more focused on just the construct at that point. But with the Freylord cards coming up, I do want to play a bit of Freylord before the Timewinders start again. So nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.